agriculture. Meanwhile, thank you and everyone who is watching for, first of all, their help and their adequate vision of the situation. Secondly, thank you for taking interest in what is happening, because the knowledge is the most powerful thing. And with knowledge, we can not only make the right decisions, but we can stay on the right side, so to say. So, and today I will be speaking a lot about knowledge, because the event that we are undertaking has a very strong educational background. Okay, I'm starting my. One second. Okay, it is here. So today is the 23rd of May, 2025, and we will be sharing the update, the newsletter, bi-weekly newsletter today via video message, because we have some good news that we would like to share, and of course invite you to, if possible, take action in it. So, as you know, since the beginning of this year, the number of institutions that were supported, funded, or run by the United States have undergone some changes, and some of them were changed quite radically. We do not know what will come out from this policy. However, I would like to report on what was done by one of these organizations, USAID. And for you to know that in 2007, I was hired by the program implemented by the company funded by USAID Foundation. And that was trainings in marketing, in production, and in nutrition for the small and medium enterprises. The program was named Farmer to Farmer, and I was lucky to work with American experts, volunteers, for over 9 months. And unfortunately, it was terminated soon, but it had a success story, which grew into a commercial project. But let's speak in a more general numbers and outlook to this institution and to what it has done, because on the media you can see a lot of various information, and some of it is not very true and not very positive about what was done. I personally think that first of all, we are grateful to the United States people, the taxpayers who have donated, so to say, their money into development of the life abroad. And Ukraine was one of those countries who had many projects. And thanks to those projects, I must say that Ukrainian children learned English, Ukrainian farmers learned about the latest technologies, Ukrainian businesses learned how to be more effective. So the the program overall has increased the number of people who live above.
Yeah, no, fine, absolutely. Yeah,
above the
good.
poverty line to 23.4 million. Of course, there is a very severe problem with children deaths worldwide, and reduction in the hunger and starvation among the children has been 3.4 million children. Food security, that's another problem. Thanks God, it is not the problem connected with Ukraine. Nevertheless, this is very strong issue in countries like Africa. So 5.2 million families were able to get some food and overcome hunger. Of course, the most appropriate in terms of Ukrainian support was the agricultural sector. and 6.2 billion for development of our infrastructure, of our production, didn't go in vain, that's for sure, because according to some statistical data, we can feed up to 600 million people, whereas Ukrainian population is just has been was before the war just 43 million people. So more than 15 times higher was the ability of Ukraine to feed people than we have our population. And it doesn't go far away, the sales and marketing of the agricultural produce, because the open market, the market that is driven by the demand and proposal, the market that is driven by the international law, that is the future for the development of Ukrainian agriculture. So $28 billion were gained thanks to the programs that USAID were implementing to develop the trade and the sales of Ukrainian agricultural commodities worldwide, and of course the innovations. I was involved in teaching the latest agricultural precision farming technologies to the teachers of Ukrainian universities. So I was in a part of the program funded by USAID, where we were bringing the knowledge from the top universities in IT implementation in agriculture and teaching the Ukrainian teachers these latest technologies. So innovations is also one of the points within the USAID program, finance programs. Now let's talk more about the period since the full-scale invasion that Russia started in 2022. So as this full-scale war has begun, USAID has become the pipeline of the finances, and their network was used in many non-military institutions. And as you know, our economy has undergone drastic changes due to the war, because before the war, our number one budget forming industry was the iron and metals. But in since the beginning of 2022, we lost majority of our iron processing facilities. One of them is Azovstal. You've heard about them. It's like a fortress, and it will be mentioned in the military books later. However, we lost it. And the second budget forming industry, which is agriculture, has started to fulfill 50 or even more than 50% of all our budget right now. So financial mobilization in agricultural support was equal to $860 million thanks to USAID. Support to the farmers, it was very critical to many of them. Our foundation, World to Rebuild Rural Ukraine, is just a small micro help that is compared to what they did. They were able to support 14,000 farmers, but it is just 1/3 of all those that required that help. Of course, grain trading was a problem because we lost the sea route, and USAID has been able to fix it to the previous numbers. So the investments coming from the USAID were able to reorganize and rebuild the logistics so that we were able to return to the volume sold and transported out of Ukraine, volume of grains, to 5.5 million tons. That is the same as was before. I'm not speaking about very precise numbers. I'm just trying to provide you with general overall assessment of the benefits that USAID were able to bring into Ukraine. Of course, there are much more details. I know the number of farmers who were personally able to survive just because of this aid. And one of them is currently participating in our event that I will be speaking about next. So they were, as they said, the war has started from their farm, and now they're reviving and operating. So logistics, the new ports and the new river and Romania have become our door into the world for the trading. And by the way, I would like to point out that we are extremely glad to hear that a pro-European president has been elected in Romania recently, not the one that is pro-Russian. It is a great victory for the democratic world because as far as I've followed the news, the youth, the young people decided to vote because they saw that pro-Russian candidate can take part. And I do not know, but I do not know anyone sane who would be willing to live under the Russian rule, so to say. Infrastructure expansion. We had to store all the grain that was produced in Ukraine and could not be sold abroad. Of course, that was also an issue, and you saw that number of those grain silos were burned by Russian missiles at the early times of this full-scale invasion. So our grain storage was doubled at large thanks to USAID support. And of course, if you have a lot of raw material in the country and you are not able to sell it as a raw material, which we were doing, plus you are looking for the more effective business, more profitable, and the one that can pay more taxes, then processing is what you need. We, as the commercial side of things, Travelite Agro, have undergone four trips on processing for Ukrainian farmers to go to the United States to learn about small and bigger processing opportunities for them to add value to what they produce. It is a strong support for the farmers striving to survive. And education. As I mentioned at the beginning of my career, I was hired by USAID for the Farmer to Farmer program. That program was meant to educate the farmers, the small and medium enterprises, how to be more effective, how to do better agronomy, how to do better nutrition, to harvest more milk, more grain, how to store it, and how to market it. So you can see that a lot of training sessions were organized, and farmers had access to the modern information in terms of how to be more effective in this industry. And of course, a lot of equipment and laboratory equipment and special instruments were purchased for the purpose of setting up new services in Ukraine. For example, the ones like soil testing or water quality testing and so on. And of course, universities. Local universities are under budgeted, and that's not a secret. It has always been that way. Now it is even worse because, as recently I read on the news, there was a statement from one of the politicians, quite high-ranked politicians from the ministry. He said that, "I'm sorry, dear universities and science of Ukraine, you are not going to get more money. We are sending all the budget for the war." Pretty much literally, I've shared his message. So the universities, and I mentioned that during the COVID, later period of COVID in 2021, we were teaching the teachers how to do the online trainings, teachers of Ukrainian agricultural universities, we were teaching how to be more effective by the usage of modern technologies, precision farming, IT, and so on. So we were looking for information abroad and organizing the trainings for the teachers in Ukraine. So USAID supported the education and it's actually not the science that much in this part that I'm talking. It's more the adequacy of the curriculums that the students were receiving thanks to USAID. I've heard many times from the businesses that the new students, the new employees that have just graduated need to be re-educated based on the new technologies because they know nothing about the latest technologies. And USAID was helping to modernize the curriculum. Of course, there were individual small aid, similar to, by the way, what World to Rebuild Rural Ukraine was doing, purchasing the cultivator or helping purchase the irrigation system for a couple of dozens of blueberry orchards or sowing machines. So for smaller and medium producers, helping purchase the most vital equipment for them to do their business. Reconstruction of the premises due to just being old or to Russian invasion, like for example, post-harvest handling facilities in order to reduce the losses after the harvest of the grains and to ensure better quality of storage. And of course, equipment like tractors, sprayers, and so on, especially for the cooperatives. So, as you know, something similar we have been doing. And here is our report, what we have succeeded to do. I can see that Mr. Victor, our partnered LifeNet's president, is present here. So thank you for your help because at large, this amount was able to be raised thanks to you. I still have the check for the last amount, which I will be, we have already paid to the construction company to build the latest, the last 8 project. But yeah, thank you for that help. So we were able, within this amount of money, that's including the administrative costs, which we have cut to zero over the last probably 14, 16 months, because we had hardly any donations raised. So we simply continued doing what we did, but charging nothing for the translation, for the accounting and so on. We were covering these costs ourselves in order to ensure that we get this amount of money to build the storage facility for for Alexander. But I will talk about him in the next slide. We have succeeded to reconstruct 2 houses, full-scale reconstruction, so rebuilding from scratch, 2 houses, 1 bomb shelter. It wasn't just our initiative. We shared the initiative with a couple of other foundations, but the shelter is functioning right now. We have restored in total already 3 warehouses. That's with the latest. Purchased a truck and 2 tractors for the farmers. That is not enough to feel the difference on the scale of Ukraine, but this is more than enough for these families to feel the difference after they are turning back to life since Russians have destroyed or simply stolen their truck or their equipment. And since the last year's event, Field Agricultural Council, where we have posted that we are trying to raise money for the aid to Alexander, we didn't simply sit and wait for somebody to donate. We reorganized our aid and focused on educational aid like USAID. That is the reason why I was talking a lot about USAID programs, because it was the example to follow for us. We saw that we cannot get enough donations to rebuild the houses or repurchase the equipment. we had this project with Alexander, which was raising money, but quite long compared to the previous ones. And meanwhile, we decided to simply, as we were able to do some commercial projects, to give all the information collected during these commercial projects to the people who cannot pay for them, to the universities, to the farmers who are serving in the military, and some of them were literally participating in our online events from the trenches, from the war trenches. So we can boast of sharing the information of over 200 hours of experts in the agricultural, technological, or highly technical information. Over 1,200 agricultural professionals, small farmers, consultants, students, service providers participated in this event, in these events that we organized. And overall, if we speak about administrative costs, we never crossed the 10% from operation in total within this $110,000. It was also including my travels in the United States, doing the promotion of our foundation and work of the accountant, the bank interests, and working of all our team, which was volunteer. Okay, now this was the whole year awaited project, and Alexander Donchenko, his son, is partially handicapped from the standpoint of his hearing, but we were able to rebuild his storage facility, which you can see on the I think it is, you can see my arrow, it's on the left down side after the Russians. And it was just a couple of months, maybe less than 2 months, that we brought all the construction materials. We could not afford buying the service of rebuilding. So Alexander is involved in rebuilding himself. So we provided them, his family, with the materials to rebuild, and he is doing it with his own hands and with his family, which to my understanding adds much more respect to him for being able to do that. These are just the photos that we did. By the way, Andrei Matvienko, last time we mentioned that we would like to purchase an old house for him, but due to very close proximity to the war zone, he preferred to get a tractor to be able to do farming and to be able to escape should Russians be coming back again. He is from Izum, and last summer, no, more than a year ago, it seems to me, summer of 2023, we liberated all that area. So he finally was able to continue living, and he was hoping to build a house, but then later he said, let's better wait with this. I will use much more benefit from the tractor. A few more projects. These are the 2 houses that we built in Ukraine. And I think that this kind of aid, although it's just to one family, but not like some international foundations, they want to have large number of benefit holders. In this case, I see that this is a very strong help. It cannot be underestimated. I mean, it inspires. It inspired all our team for this reorganization and for continuing to work even when the donations dropped. Now about our project that we are currently implementing. This is half humanitarian and half commercial project. Why I'm saying half is because we were able to involve businesses like Syngenta, like Ukrainian producers of equipment, Technopol, like Ukrainian laboratories, AgriLab, Life Biotech, Microbiolab, and companies like quantum service companies and producers of fertilizers, Agrosem, to provide the funds to do this project that will be educating not only the farmers who are successful and who are profitable, but also the information that will teach the latest, the most adequate, and the most requested topics or technologies to the smaller farmers. We have 14 farmers who are participating in this event. And we are testing the soil in three fields of each of those farms. And these farms are located in these areas, in this oblast. So you can see that the geography of our project is very, very vast, and it gives the benefit to those. Very often you can hear, this is the technology not from the current area. It will not work in our area. It will work because we will be working under different climatic, soil conditions, and so on. So we are aiming to collect information, full possible scientific information from in total 45 fields all over Ukraine. Then this information will be analyzed and is analyzed right now by the experts worldwide. What type of information I'm talking about? Chemical analysis of the soil in 4 laboratories, which means that we will get the diversity. Then there will be soil analysis in Ukrainian laboratory for biology, then the tissue analysis, and then the experts will come to these farms to join to analyze the soil pit from the physical standpoint and the plant. And all the conclusions will be packed into one project. You have, this is what you had, this is what was found, this is what was observed, and this is what we recommend based on the latest sciences coming from the very narrow, specialized, very deeply specialized experts. Now I would like to interrupt the talk about Field Agriculture Council because Dmitro, my partner, project coordinator, he is visiting one of the farmers with who I would like to run a short interview for you to hear the first-hand information. How is it like to be a farmer right now in Ukraine? By the way, close proximity to Kyiv, just 16 kilometers, 10 miles away from here. And Микола, Дмитро, Діма, привіт.
Ром, привіт.
Да, доброго дня, Микола.
Так,
Вітаю,
так,
вітаю.
включаємось.
You can see that they are currently in the field planting. We didn't want to bother him, Mikola, with the office talks. We just came to his field. Микола, добрий день. Скажіть, будь
Доброго
ласка,
дня.
як цей сезон відрізняється від попередніх для вас? По-перше, да, в двох словах про те, що ви вирощуєте, на скількох гектарах, скільки у вас людей працює, щоб зрозуміли ваші колеги з-за кордону. А по-друге, наскільки цей сезон легший, важчий від попереднього. I asked a few words about the farm, how many people work, what they grow, and how different or better or worse is the season this year.
Доброго дня, колеги. Я Микола Ремарчук.
Hello, everyone.
Фермер з-під Києва.
I'm Mikola Remarchuk, the farmer from Kyiv Oblast.
Я займаюся вирощуванням борщового набору. Якщо хто не знає, то назву. Це морква, буряк, капуста, картопля, цибуля. Вся ця площа цих овочевих культур займає біля 200 гектарів.
I grow the vegetables that are considered, called in Ukraine, borscht set, the vegetables that I use to cook Ukrainian borscht, and I use 200 hectares for all these crops. This is potato, carrot, onions, cabbage, and table beet.
Якщо порівнювати з минулим роком, то практично площі під культурами не змінились. Змінились тільки в межах розміру поля. Якщо картоплі минулий рік було 50 гектарів, в цьому році 69. А всі інші культури майже те саме.
Regarding the acreage under each of the crops, we have not changed much. For example, potato was 50 hectares last year. This year it is 65 hectares. So it's not a radical change. The total number of hectares remain the same. Як по погоді, до речі, цього року?
Якщо брати погодні умови минулої весни і цьогорічної, то цьогорічна весна, за мій досвід роботи вже на протязі 43 років, такої весни важкої по заморозках не пам'ятаю. Але це не заморозки, це морози були.
I asked, what about the season? How different is it from the previous years? He says that with his 43 years experience, this is the coldest spring he has ever experienced, because we are not speaking about short-term freezing temperatures. It were the frost nights and long-term frost that killed a lot of crops.
Тому що це перший рік у цьому році в нас була підморожені посіви озимої пшениці ранніх сортів. Ну, це не критично, але це відбулося, що верхній листочок напалам підмерз.
We are planting winter wheat for the reason of crop rotation, and this is the first time that our early variety of winter wheat suffered frost damage. It was not critical. We did not need to replant. However, the top leaf were bended due to the frost. Як відносно опадів? Як на мою думку, їх достатньо багато цієї весни. Не забагато?
Ні, Рома, наоборот, в нас опадів дуже мало, тому що зимою снігу не було, весняних опадів не було. І якісь невеликі опади, які в нас відбулися в березні-квітні, їх було досить мало, тому що приморозки, ці морози виморожували ту кількість, яка була випала.
I asked about the rainfalls because in Kyiv we have observed quite a number of rainy days, and Mykola says that that rainfall was not enough. First of all, because we had no snow, that's why the water level was not supplied in the winter time. Secondly, is that because of these frosts, the water was frozen on top of the soil and then just evaporated. It didn't penetrate deep. А відносно, ви кажете, морозів, які культури найбільше постраждали? Ви згадали пшеницю, це у вашій
Ну, це в нас
структурі.
у господарстві, так. Якщо брати по інших культурах, то цибуля, скажімо, вона була посіяна і ще в землі знаходилася, тому що цибуля довго сходить. Замітних таких критичних моментів загрози культурам овочевим не було. Єдине, що вони, скажімо, те, що через розсаду ми вирощували, то було розтягнуто. Якщо зараз часту розсада капусти 30 днів, то в нас вийшла майже 45 днів. І ми відстали на 2 неділі в посадках посівів.
I asked which crops suffered most. He says within the vegetable crops, the root crops, they have not had any damages. But, for example, the young plants that were multiplied in first in the cases and then planted out into the fields, usually it takes 1 month for them to grow to the necessary size. But this year it was 45 days. А розкажіть про такі культури, як у Івана Мельника, про кісточкові і фрукти-ягоди. Що в цій ситуації?
На жаль, що сьогодні майже вся Україна залишилась без овочів, тобто без фруктів, без ягід, тому що в багатьох господарствах люди залишились без яблук, без черешні. Інших ягід і фруктів, тому що, я ж кажу, це не заморозки, це морози були. Тому в багатьох регіонах, Могилів-Подільський, це, скажімо так, південний регіон, і те, що Іван каже, колега, зовсім залишився Дніпропетровський регіон, Іван Савіч, Ярмолюк також каже, що повністю залишився без фруктів. Тому багато, садівництво дуже багато, найбільш постраждало.
Horticulture has suffered most because I asked about the partner of Mykola, Ivan Melnik. I know that they are sharing fields in order to provide the crop rotation for their orchards and for their fruit production. But this year, many regions have lost almost all of the fruit. For some of the smaller farmers, that was very strong support from the financial standpoint because they could sell these cherries, these strawberries on the market and earn some money. But this year, this is unfortunately gone. And Ivan Savich, another farmer in Dnipro Oblast, which you know is now bordering with the war zone, that nasty weather has brought another issue after the Russian invasion. Now they are losing their orchard horticultures. Скажіть, будь ласка, стосовно фактично ринку, по збуту вашої продукції, ви маєте нормальну змогу все збути за адекватну ціну, чи якась іде зсув, так би мовити, по споживанню на ринку?
Ну, слава Богу, скажімо так, що в різний період різні культури мали різну ціну. Скажімо так, якщо в першій половині до Нового року, то всі культури мали ціну на рівні так 0 плюс-мінус до рентабельності. Після Нового року ціни почали зростати, і на сьогоднішній день практично менше. Картопля 25 гривень подається, цибуля 27. Ну, тобто ціни зараз вже, скажімо, піднялися, і це дозволяє, скажімо, мати якийсь заробіток.
I asked about the market prices for the commodities that Mykola is growing, if they are reasonable and if there has been any changes in the consumption of the commodities. So he says that before the new year, the price was more or less at the break-even point for potato, carrot, onions, sugar beet, cabbage. But after the new year, for example, potato moved up to 27 гривень. Це картопля 27 гривень, так?
Так. Цибуля. Картопля 25 зараз.
Okay, 25 hryvnias, which would be about 60 cents per kilo of potato, 28 hryvnias, which would be probably up to 65 cents for the kilo of onions. This is a profitable price for him right now. А як відносно людей, які працюють, до речі, продовжуючи об'єми, наскільки змінилася структура ваших полів з початком повномасштабного? Чи прийшлось пересунутись, збільшити, наприклад, більше там картоплі, чи менше картоплі, чи от війна як впливає на споживання?
З настанням війни споживання змінилося, набагато зменшилось, тому що зменшила кількість людей в Україні, які споживають це. Але так як в нас вже є історія співпраці з торгівельними мережами, то, скажімо так, слава Богу, що ми реалізуємо всю свою продукцію.
І не прийшлось урізати гектари з 22-го року?
Ні, практично, я ж тобі кажу, що ми в межах біля 200 гектарів кожен рік, плюс-мінус в межах поля. Якщо поле там під цибулю минулий рік було 38 гектарів, цей рік 43 гектарів. Якщо там під капусту було минулий рік чуть більше, цей рік це менше. Тобто в межах розмірів поля, бо ми всі овочі на зрошені, то так і лавіруємо.
So I asked how the full-scale invasion has influenced the consumption of the produce. If he needed to change, to shift to other crops, like, for example, more potato or less potato, he says yes. In general, the horticulture industry, the tractor, the John Deere tractor is moving behind. So the people have left the country. Less vegetables are being purchased. However, Mykola is on the safe side because he has a good reputation with the chains of like supermarkets and other buyers. So he has not changed his acreage. 200 hectares of irrigated land has been in production more or less. 38 hectares under onions last year, 43 hectares under onions this year. Скажіть, будь ласка, якщо так чесно, по-скромному, скільки ви віддаєте продукції на армію?
Рома, зараз проїде трактор і трошки так дозволить.
He cannot hear because of the tractor. They are just waiting for it to pass. Looks like they are preparing the bed for planting potato.
Романе, ще раз, якщо можеш повтори, будь ласка, останнє питання.
Я знаю, що ви дуже потужно допомагаєте своєю продукцією і будинкам немовляти, і військовим. Скажіть, будь ласка, який відсоток вирощеного ви просто віддаєте?
Романе, ми цю цифру стараємося навіть не підраховувати, але це близько 10%.
I asked about. I know that Mykola is very strong supporter of the military and of the all sorts of children orphanages and kindergartens. So he's giving off a lot of his produce just for free. I asked how much is that. He says we are not calculating, but it's over 10%, which is according to Bible the ideal amount of what must be given away. Я зауважив, що це якраз як по Біблії. 10%, десятину.
Я думаю, що це більше, але ми принципово, Рома, не хочу підраховувати, тому що, мабуть, Бог мені дозволяє мати можливість це виділяти, а те, що ти від душі виділяєш, його не потрібно рахувати.
I have the principle. It's a matter of principle not to calculate that, because if you have an opportunity, if God is giving me an opportunity to grow this produce and be able to give it away without any like damage or to the business, then it's okay, and I don't need to know how much that is. Микола, скажіть, будь ласка, з точки зору мобілізації, скільки людей у вас було до початку війни на ці 200 гектар? Скільки зараз, і чи є можливість бронювати чоловіків нормально, скільки потрібно?
Зараз, Романе, в нас, скажімо так, що є можливість, чи, скажімо так, дозволяє нам законодавство 50% чоловічого працівників чоловічої статі призовного віку. А якщо взяти, то за період війни наших 8 хлопців мобілізовано. Слава Богу, що всі живі, здорові. Багато хто вже отримав поранення. З людьми напружено, це однозначно, але ми стараємося сьогодні максимально переводити всі наші виробничі процеси, максимально, скажімо, механізовувати, десь, скажімо, використовувати техніку, де менше людських ресурсів. Але очільництво – це занадто багато ручної праці.
Скільки у вас людей працює?
Зараз нас працює 47 чоловік.
So 8 people from his. I asked how many employees were mobilized, like taken to the army. Dropped it. And what is the possibility right now to book the military age men from serving in the army? He says that there are 47 plus or minus men working in his farm. Of course, this is very labor-consuming production, because agricultural commodities like vegetables, they cannot be very much automized. And equipment, this is what they invest in. 8 people are serving in the army. Thanks God, nobody died, but many of them got wounded already. Микола, якщо я знаю, що це не зовсім доречно розказувати багато деталей, але ви допомагаєте військовим. Що ви можете про це сказати? Кому, як і яка зараз найбільша потреба? I know that Mykola is very close with a number of military battalions, helping them many ways. And I don't want to be sharing the information that probably cannot be shared, so I asked him to tell himself what he can tell, what kind of help he is providing, who is he that providing that help, and which kind of help is most needed to the military right now. Так, Микола.
Да, Романе. Ну, ти добре знаєш і сам, яка сьогодні найбільша потреба в нашій армії. Це дрони. Дрони, де FPV-дрони, дрони камікадзе. І ми працюємо в цьому напрямку постійно, скажімо так. У нас вже є підрозділи, яких ми взяли під опіку і практично туди по запросу відправляємо. Я, Рома, ну, за коректності не буду казати кількості. Не буду називати компанії, з якими, але ти добре розумієш, що дуже багато. І це сьогодні єдиний ресурс, де найбільше є наш захист. Ну і плюс до всього це реби.
Окей, я перекладу. A meeting to name
Реби,
the...
рації, вся ця, що сьогодні найбільш розтребана, Рома, це, скажімо так, радіоелектронний захист.
The most effective right now are the battalions and the types of troops that are fighting with drones and that are providing the radar protection for the troops, for Ukrainian military in the battlefields. Here, Mykola says that I will not be naming the exact battalions, but we are focusing on the drones purchase, radio detection instruments and so on, because these guys, they are the most effective in both protecting us and in holding the enemy on the front line. So the drones, FPV, the other types of drones, they are the number one need of Ukrainian army. Пане Микола, ще таке, скажіть, будь ласка, от в плані агронавчання, ви зараз берете участь у польовому консиліумі. Як ви думаєте, виходячи з підвищення ефективності, це може бути як більша врожайність, менше затрати на витратні матеріали, більша автоматизація. Який є потенціал до збільшення ефективності саме за рахунок навчання? От залучення іноземних технологій до вас в виробництво овочів. Це буде на 5% більше, чи 10, чи приблизно те саме, просто менші затрати. От що модернізація і навчання в технологіях може дати вашому сектору?
Рома, слава Богу, що наше господарство вже високотехнічне, високоінтенсивне, високомодернізоване господарство. Завдяки якраз таким зустрічам, таким навчанням, ти добре це знаєш. То я думаю, що якщо ми будемо з вдосконалення наших агротехнічних, агрохімічних знань, то я думаю, що ми зможемо 5-7% додати.
Дякую вам велике.
І саме головне, що ми, скажімо так, навіть може те, що забули, ми завдяки нашому спілкуванню відновлюємо наші знання, наш якийсь досвід. І ми завжди думаю, що чим більше зустрічей ділишся ти з колегами, то це завжди позитив.
I asked what is the perception of the future growth of or improvement in production in the effectiveness of his business due to adoption of the Western technologies, both in machinery, in IT, in automatization, or in agronomy, in technologies of production, nutrition, and so on. And Mykola says that, by the way, Mykola is one of the host farms within the Field Agricultural Council 25. He says that of course, we are currently considered to be higher scale in terms of technology farm in Ukraine, but it's never the limit. You can always go higher, and thanks to the educational sessions that we are organizing and that they are participating, their agronomists are taking part in, they can ensure growth of effectiveness of their business by 5% to 7% on an annual basis.
Я ще скажу, що
Пане Миколо, я вже буду тоді відключатися.
Я зараз секунду ще пару слів.
Рома, дивись, зараз якраз ми ще сьогодні закладаємо якраз досвід по випробуванню ще одного агрегата вирощення картоплі. То я думаю, поєднання всіх наших знань всіх наших зустрічей. Навіть якщо ми зустрілись, ми, скажімо, обмінялись думками, позитивом зарядили друг друга. Це завжди успіх і завжди буде енергетика на покращення будь-яких наших бажань, технологій. І головне, найкраще буде результат в усьому. Але я б хотів би звернутися сьогодні, якщо це до наших колег-американців. Саме головне сьогодні хочеться побажати і подякувати за їхню допомогу, але ще більше, щоб ця допомога не зупинилася, тому що бачимо трохи політичні ігри, які впливають на розвиток України, впливають на наше бажання, тому що замість того, щоб ми могли десь більше вділити часу для своєї родини, для своїх дітей, для своїх онуків, то, на жаль, що весь час уходить якраз на військові ці справи. То хотілося б, щоб весь світ нам пішов на зустріч і чим скоріше, вже щоб наступна наша десь дискусія була у мирному часі.
Taking the chance right now, I would like to share that we are setting up the trial for the new equipment here in this field. So right now they are planting potato, like I mentioned, and this is one of the examples of the improvement and setting up the new technologies in their farm. But meanwhile, I would like to first, Mykola says, I would like to first of all thank you all the people and the countries for the support you have been providing, and to share my hope that this support will not shrink, because current political battles are showing that there is a risk that we might stay on our own. And right now, for you to understand, we are sacrificing the time and material, and financial and material possessions for the purpose of supporting the war here in Ukraine. And we will not be able to succeed with only what we have. The aid from the whole world is necessary for us to stand and to win this war. And I hope that the next time we will be communicating in the session like that will be during the peaceful times. So, by the way, Mykola was on our session on the cell phone connection in May of 2022, when we just started World to Rebuild Rural Ukraine. He was sharing the interesting fact that when all the ladies left Ukraine, men started to consume more meat but less vegetables. There were no one to make salads for them. Я тільки що сказав, Миколо, що ми вже з вами вдруге спілкуємося. Перший раз це було на самому початку, в 22-му році. І тоді ви поділилися такою цікавою інформацією, що коли жінки виїхали, чоловіки просто споживали багато м'яса, але мало купували овочі, бо не було кому робити салати.
Так.
Yes, that was the case back then. Nobody were able to make the salad, and men are just simply meat eaters. Дякую, пане Миколо, велике. Боже поміч вам в ваших діяннях і родині. Всього найкращого. Ми з своєї сторони, чим зможемо, тим підтримаємо. І продовжуйте, не будемо відволікати вас. Слава Україні!
Дякую. Ми хорошу справу всі разом робимо. Так що хай Бог дає всім здоров'я і обмінюємося інформацією, доповнюємо друг друга завжди досвідом, побажаннями, взаємодопомогою. За нас, всіх українців, ми непереможні.
Слава Україні, героям слава. Mykola said that with continuing to communicate and to stay in touch and to exchange with information, we will be stronger, we will be more resilient, and we cannot be defeated. We will stand till the last. So may God help us in all what we are doing. So, ladies and gentlemen, I will return to the fact sheet that I was providing. We are grateful to Mykola. He's always very substantial in terms of information that he's providing. And we did not prepare anything. We did not even provide him the information that we are coming. I called him and said, do you have a minute? He says, okay, we will be in the fields, come over to us. So now let's go back to the presentation. I will take maybe 20 more minutes of your time, and then we will be. So Field Agricultural Council. This is the event that you have heard already about, and we tried to borrow all the ideas, all the scenarios of similar events worldwide when we were traveling and seeing how the field days are organized, conferences, educational extension service, educational sessions are organized. I was inspired by what I saw, and I tried to build something that will be, as yesterday one of the partners, Irish gentleman, has said that we have a Irish Trinity in our setup. So the science, the knowledge, the action, and the education, which is teaching. Because very often there are very good projects which lack one of these sharp angles. So we are trying to collect this information, adjust it to Ukrainian needs, and then teach it. By teaching, I mean that we are sharing this information with those who are going to use it. So here, this is the summary of what we want to do. First, we were teaching online sessions in general topics that are very important for the production of our farmers. Then we now are providing them with the recommendations on the nutrition. Of course, it is not just for this season, it's coming season as well. But understanding what is in the soil based on the soil analysis, and then being able to interpret the results and to understand what needs to be applied, this is probably the number one stumbling down point for every farmer. So they get this protocol of soil analysis. There are some numbers what to be applied, but if he cannot find that, what does he do? How does he change? What is the priority in these elements if he lacks budget? So experts from 4 laboratories, consultants are trying to explain how to prioritize what you need to do. Of course, block 3 will be in June when the experts are arriving into 8 farms in the fields of the 8 of the farmers, host farms, to provide the teaching session how to do crop scouting, how to identify the issues, how to assess the possible damage, and to make how to make the decisions whether it is worthy or not worthy to replant, to apply some fertilizers foliarly, or to apply some chemicals. And all that information that is gathered not just by random people, but by the experts in who are professionals in his or her field, they will visit the 24 fields in various areas and 8 actually oblasts, and then they will provide the summarize the at the conference the presentation about the most important issues that they have come across often, and how to fix them, how to not allow them to happen next season. And we were planning initially to do the online session in November, but now I'm almost certain that I will find the budget to make it happen offline, because I know that communication online results in maybe 5% of information percepted, but communication offline is usually more than 50% at least. So we are trying to make these educational sessions as effective as possible. Many of the farmers, by the way, speaking of the draft, Mykola mentioned that 50% of the male employees in each farm that is considered to be a critical industry can be booked from the military service. It means that the other 50% are drafted. So by now, these other 50% are already serving in the army. But there is a set of requirements to be considered the critical industry farm. It should be not less than 500 hectares. It should be producing a certain amount of produce, and it should be paying salary that is minimum 20,000 hryvnias, which is a higher salary. So even if the farmer cannot afford that, he or she must pay this amount of money for the worker in order not to lose him. For example, in between the season, the farmer cannot fire their employees, like take their part-time employees for just a couple of months. He must hold them employed all the time, even the time when they're not working, and pay them higher wages. Of course, for the employers, it is better, but you can understand that the smaller farmers who cannot meet these requirements, they are left unbooked, which means they can be taken to the army. They cannot cross the border to go to even to Poland to learn. That's why there is this Mehomet, wisdom person. There is a saying: the mountain doesn't go to Mehomet, then the Mehomet is coming to the mountain. In this case, if the students cannot go to the teacher, within our project we are inviting the teachers to come to the students. And the most important factor is that, unlike in case with USAID, when the funding was taken from the American people, we are successful in finding the budget for that from Ukrainian commercial companies to invite the experts here. So we are, maybe I will not sound very shy, but we are more effective than some of the programs like those who which have been working. But these programs, they are of course needed because we cannot cover all the topics. We are right now focused on the crops, and you can see these crops: wheat, canola, corn, carrot, hemp, sunflower, soybean, potato. But there are so many more, like for example, horticulture. And horticulture is currently suffering losses due to the bad weather. So these programs, like USAID and European programs, they are needed, and maybe they can need to be reorganized to be more effective, but they cannot be canceled. I mean, in terms of food supply, these are the laboratories that we work with within this program. We try to learn various approaches and to ensure that different schools of nutrition and fertilization are taken into account. And all known to the agricultural science tests we are trying to incorporate in order to be able to assess full potential of these three fields, to show to the farmer how to do this assessment and what they can gain from these fields. Speaking of the experts, I've already mentioned that the experts, we asked them to come over here to do the scout, to identify the problems and to provide the scientific background to each of the issues using the reliable information from the Western laboratories. And that will be, I must say, the most full and comprehensive analysis that Ukrainian agriculture has ever done in such a geography and in such a manner. And this information will be shared with the farmers, but also with the universities. We have already secured the memorandum so far in an oral form, in a Zoom conversation, that this information will be incorporated into curriculums of those universities, so that next time companies that hire new employees, students, just after the university, will not say to me that we need to re-educate them, to reteach them to modern technologies. We are trying to collect these modern technologies, adjust them to Ukrainian needs, and give them away to the universities totally for free, as long as the university teachers are willing to teach this material, not to stick to what was used in Soviet times. So Odessa State Agricultural University, Tavria State Technological University, Mykolaiv National Agrarian University, Kherson State Agrarian and Economic University, National University of Life and Environment Sciences, this is the Kyiv one, Odessa Regional Advisory Service, this is kind of like an extension, and University Advisory Center NGO, Laska Foundation, it was supposed to be like one more, but it's just the editing of the slide. And so we are, at this point, we are functioning as an extension of American University. We are collecting the information from the farmers, what they need. We are trying to find the expertise abroad, bring it in, adjust to Ukrainian needs, and give it away in the package that is user-friendly, so to say, for all kinds of users. Now, a couple of facts about the total agricultural industry in Ukraine, what we usually do on a bi-weekly basis. So in April, we were able to export 6 million metric tons of cargo of agricultural produce. In the year, marketing year 24-25, as of May 16, in total, we were able to export 37 million metric tons of grains and leguminous crops. And this is a bit less than last seasons. Out of them, you can see wheat, barley, rye, corn, flour, how much in percentage it makes up for each of the crops. So wheat is number one from the acreage wise, it's 14.5 tons in total, million tons in total. Planting. As you heard, the conditions for planting in Ukraine were very difficult, and it, of course, influenced their germination, and many of them had to replant. For example, we communicated with the farmers who were potentially interested in participating in our trip to the United States that starts next week, but then they simply disappeared because they didn't know what to do with their winter crops. They said then later that, I'm sorry, we cannot come because we need to replant. We need to apply herbicides or something to do in the field because the area, the season is very tough. So 87 of the spring grains has been planted, not 100%, although it is already almost end of May. That's pretty much it. I've taken more than 1 hour of your time. I hope it was informative. Once again, thank you everyone for all the support. Please share the word about what we are doing. And currently we are trying to implement this Field Agricultural Council at the extent that we have just mentioned. We are still looking for some sponsored money to be able to cover the food at the conference, and I will be approaching Howard Buffett Foundation with that request. I hope he will be open to some dialogue, because if we can ensure to run this conference, to cover the cost of this conference, we will be able to invite the more people on a free basis and to ensure that they perceive the information. Meanwhile, we are fighting thanks to your help, and we will be fighting till the last breath, as they say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I wish you the very best. Thank you.
All the same to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Roman.